finally figured out how to defeat those damn goblins. See this? Oh no. Kingdom Rush. Remember when the most challenging decision in your life was choosing between archer towers and mages? Yep, simpler times. This isn't just a game, it's a dive into the pool of teenage innocence. Let's rewind back to a time when I thought my zits had the power of a Tesla tower. Kingdom Rush first graced our touchscreens in 2011, back when Justin Bieber's hair flip was still a thing and some of us were sneakily playing games during math class. What? Derivatives weren't as exciting as shooting down goblins. Ironhide Game Studio, the genius or villain, depending on how many hours you've lost to the game, behind it all began this timeless journey in a land where magic met medieval and gamers met their match. Did you know Kingdom Rush started as a web browser game? That's right. Before it became the app that made us ignore our friends at social gatherings, it was the browser tab that you switched from when your boss walked by. So if you started there, you're an OG. Or just really old. The game's charm wasn't just in its gameplay, it was in the details. The tiny defenders, the gnolls, the witty comments they made. For Honor and Glory still plays in my nightmares. It wasn't just about defending your kingdom, it was about immersing yourself in this animated, vibrant universe. But let's be real, some of us just like setting trolls on fire. Therapeutic? Perhaps. Can we talk about graphics? For a game from the 2010s, it wasn't trying to be the Mona Lisa of mobile gaming, but it was quaint. A mix of cute, violent, and absurd that somehow just worked. It's like if the Smurfs went to war. Those chunky pixels made us feel things. Mostly rage when we lost a level, but feelings nonetheless. The game's popularity wasn't accidental. Its allure was as potent as that first high school crush. You know, the one you stalked on Facebook or Instagram, with its addictive gameplay, a vast array of enemies, and the tantalizing promise of new upgrades. It was hard to not get hooked. And let's not forget about the Easter eggs and pop culture references sprinkled in there. You didn't just play, you explored. As we wrap up our stroll down this pixelated memory lane, it's clear that Kingdom Rush wasn't just a game, it was an era, a time of innocence, procrastination, and orc slaying. But if there's one thing Kingdom Rush taught us, it's that there's more beneath the surface, behind the towers, the trolls. Now here's where the love affair began, or for some, the soul-crushing addiction. Remember the first time you set up those towers, confidently thinking, how hard could this be? Only to be overrun by a wave of orcs because you underestimated how much strategy was needed. Good times, good times. For the uninitiated, and if you are, where have you been, under a rock or perhaps an orc?
I don't know, I just got here.
Kingdom Rush centers around building towers to fend off waves of enemies. Sounds simple, right? But that's like saying dating is just about finding someone you like. The devil is in the details, or in this case, the demonic spawn rushing at your gates. Let's get a little bit nerdy. These are 4 core tower types: archer, mage, artillery, and barracks. Easy enough, but then, oh boy, do you have the upgrades. It's like picking a major in college. You start general, then spiral down into such specificity, you're left wondering, do I really need a Tesla tower, or am I just compensating for something? Kingdom Rush isn't just tower defense, it's tower offense. You don't just sit back, kick up your feet, and wait for the orcs and goblins to throw themselves at your impenetrable defenses. No, you're out here rallying troops, dropping meteors, and summoning reinforcements. It's like commanding an army while being a stage mom. Aggressive, involved, and just a tad bit over the top. Remember the joys of figuring out which tower to place where, positioning those barracks just right so your little digital soldiers would block the oncoming horde while your archers rain down hell, and the satisfaction? That feeling when your strategy worked seamlessly is second only to the sweet pleasure of unfriending that annoying dude from high school. And here's a question. Did anyone else name their soldiers? No, just me? Okay, come on. Come on, Derek. The soldier was a legend. He faced down trolls, spiders, and even the weird mushroom thing. He deserved a backstory, a love interest, and a tragic demise. Or at least a salary raise. Give me that at least.
Bruh.
Little tidbit for you. The game was so engaging that some folks, not me, okay maybe me, used to sketch out tower strategies on paper. And these weren't just doodles in the margins of our notebooks, we're talking full-blown color-coded plans. Some of us were more prepared for an orc invasion than our finals. Kingdom Rush is like the clean EX. No matter how much you think you've moved on, you've always come back for one more wave, one more level, one more upgrade. And before you know it, it's 3 AM and you've missed your cousin's wedding. But hey, at least your kingdom's safe, right? When it comes to Kingdom Rush's graphics, we're diving deep into what could be classified as a love-hate relationship. Sort of like you're feeling towards that one Tinder date who ordered a pineapple pizza and then criticized your choice of low-tier memes. Who does that? Sure, the game had a certain charming look, but let's call a spade a spade. Sometimes those pixelated soldiers looked more like they were part of a Minecraft spinoff than a tower defense game. You squint, lean in, and think, is that an orc, or did my archer tower just fire a clump of pixels? Now, I get it. This was mobile gaming back in the day. We weren't expecting Avatar level CGI. But on occasion, trying to decipher what was happening on the battlefield felt like staring at one of those magic eye pictures. I swear if you squint and tilt your head just right, that's a goblin, or maybe it's a butterfly, or a boat. I remember the first time I played Kingdom Rush on a larger screen, I felt like I'd been handed a magnifying glass in a world I'd only viewed through smudged glasses. Suddenly, everything had edges, and details, and, well, still looked kinda goofy, but adorably goofy, like a pug in a tutu. Did you know that the developers initially thought about creating Kingdom Rush with a darker, more realistic aesthetic? Imagine playing our beloved Goofy game while it looked like it was going through an edgy emo phase with towers blasting My Chemical Romance and orcs writing poetry about their existential dread. One undeniable charm though, the animations. Those little dudes running, fighting, dying, respawning, and doing it all over again like an endless pixelated Groundhog Day. There was something almost hypnotic about it. And let's be real, who among us didn't cackle with glee the first time we saw an enemy launched sky high by a well-placed explosive? Another thing, the Easter eggs hidden in the game design. I mean, come on, who doesn't appreciate seeing an occasional nod to pop culture or gaming lore? And if you didn't notice any, well, time to replay, my friend. You missed out on the joy of seeing references that range from Star Wars to Monty Python. But for all of its quirks and oddities, Kingdom Rush's graphical style had an undeniable charm. It's like the thrift store sweater you can't bear to throw away. It's scratchy, has a questionable stain, and is about 3 sizes too big, but you love it. Why? Because it's uniquely yours. Okay, let's face it. Early Kingdom Rush was a bit like your high school experience. Confusing, full of unexpected challenges, and occasionally utterly broken. The early game bugs, some of which I'm convinced were just sentient beings sent to test our sanity. Remember trying to pause the game and coming back to find half your towers inexplicably sold off? It was like leaving a kid alone with your savings. I swear I only turned my back for a second, and now there's a unicorn on my battlefield and my gold is gone. That unicorn didn't even help, he just stood there looking fabulous. Or that other heart-stopping bug where you'd unleash a wave ready to take on the world only to have the screen freeze and all you could do was listen to the agonizing cries of your imaginary soldiers. It was a grim radio drama unfolding right in your ears. Stephen King would be proud. Did you know some players actually tried to utilize these bugs to their advantage? There's working the system and there's breaking the game entirely. Some of us would discover a little hiccup in the game's matrix and then proceed to create the digital equivalent of Frankenstein's monster. You haven't truly lived until you've spawned infinite troll champions. Of course, let's talk about the save game bugs. Raise your hand if you ever lost your game progress. Oh, you too? Welcome to the support group. I remember playing for hours, perfectly setting up defenses, upgrading my arsenal, and then just when I thought I was on the brink of victory, the game would go, save? What save? Heartbreak in digital form. And then there were the unexpected crashes. It was as if the game sometimes went, I can't even, and just decided to peace out. It's like taking a leisurely stroll and suddenly finding yourself in the Bermuda Triangle. Everything's gone and you're left there, screaming at the void. While these bugs were incredibly frustrating, they gave us stories. Hey, remember that time when you filled the entire map with sheep for no reason? Or man, that bug where my archers just moonwalked instead of shooting arrows? Classic. It's like reminiscing about that one summer trip where everything went wrong, but now it's just a hilarious memory. Despite its flaws, Kingdom Rush's charm was undeniable. We were all willing to put up with its quirks because beneath those bugs was a fantastic game. Every glitch, every crash, every unexpected sheep invasion just became part of the legend, a rite of passage, if you will. Let's take a trip down memory lane and chat about the virtual celebrities of our Kingdom Rush days, the heroes. Ah yes, the glorious champions we'd save up for, sometimes spending days, or mom's credit card, just to unlock them. And then, some turned out to be as useful as a chocolate teapot. Bitter? Who? Me? I mean, there's nothing quite like the feeling of unlocking a Laura Wintersong than expecting Elsa-level frosty badassery, only to find out she's more like that cold ex of yours, lots of icy stares, but nothing much else. I'm just saying, if you're going to rock a title like Ice Mistress, you better bring the Blizzard, sister. Now let's talk about the walking hunk of metal, Bolin Farslinger. Remember him? The dwarf with the bomb-throwing prowess? With a Bolin on the battlefield, it's like a Michael Bay movie. Explosions everywhere, except just like a Michael Bay movie, things often lacked depth. So, any plans other than a whole bomb thing? Nope. Alright then. But not all was doom and gloom. There was the legends, the myths, the MVPs. Enter Sir Gerald Lightseeker. This guy was like if Captain America decided to go medieval. Shield bashing and sword swinging and just an overall powerhouse. If Kingdom Rush was a high school, Sir Gerald would have been the quarterback. Everyone wanted a piece of him. Speaking of powerhouses, did anyone else feel slightly OP with Ani or Oni? I never really figured out which way to say it. I mean, when you have a dude throwing fire and summoning a three-headed dragon, it's like bringing a tank to a Nerf gun battle. Overkill? Absolutely. Satisfying? Hell yeah. Oh, and who could forget the Eternal Erevan? This guy was popping off arcane missiles and summoning golems like it was nobody's business. Though, let's be honest, his true superpower was his hair. How much gel do you reckon he used? Asking for a friend. But hey, it wasn't all about fighting. Some heroes were there for moral support, or moral-ish support. Nothing says supportive team player like a Dark Lord with a penchant for demonic sacrifices. I mean, sure, he's throwing around dark magic and cackling, but deep down, probably still evil, but he had his moments. What made the heroes truly memorable, though, wasn't their abilities or their backstories. It was the way they made us feel. Each time you unlocked a new character, it felt like opening a present. Sometimes you got socks, other times it was a toy you've been eyeing for months, but every time it added to the story, the challenge, and the experience. Sequels, those cash-grabbing monstrosities that we, the dedicated fans, flock to like moths to a burning wallet. Kingdom Rush wasn't just content with conquering our free time, it wanted to set up a permanent residency in our souls and our App Store transaction history. With titles like Frontiers, Origins, and Vengeance, it felt like the game titles were more like phases of my teenage rebellion. Now, remember when we first heard about Kingdom Rush Frontiers? Oh, the joy, the hope, the utter dread of realizing we'd be losing sleep, social lives, and probably some hair again. And surprise, surprise, they managed to suck us right back into the vortex of strategic chaos. New maps, enemies, towers, and wait, did that dragon just eat my archer? It's personal now. Kingdom Rush Origins, on the other hand, took us down memory lane, but like, if memory lane was littered with traps, magic, and enemies the size of a double-decker bus. Still, I have to give props to the throwback vibes and insight into the origins of the game. Then there was the Vengeance. Oh boy, Vengeance. It was like they decided to flip a table and asked you, what if you were the bad guy this time? It was a love letter to all of us who secretly cheered the villains in the movies. Plus, let's be honest, who among us hasn't wanted to send hordes of minions to destroy something at least once in their life? Just me? Moving on. The expansions, too, were nothing short of an emotional roller coaster. Just when you thought you'd sing it all, bam, here's a whole new world, cue the Aladdin music, of levels to dive into. Every expansion felt like that extra slice of pizza you know you shouldn't have but indulge in anyway, and much like that pizza, the regret comes later when you realize you've bitten off more than you can chew. But with all the exciting new content, developers always love tossing in fresh headaches. New game mechanics to learn, overpowered foes that made you question your life choices, and heroes that felt as if they were handpicked from developers' most twisted nightmares. Speaking of heroes, why, oh why, were some of them locked behind paywalls? I get it, devs, gotta eat. But did they have to feast on our tears too? Every time I saw a cool, badass hero tantalizing out of reach unless I forked over some cash, a piece of my soul crumbled. Okay, drama aside, some were genuinely worth the splurge. But here's the real kicker. Despite the new challenges, the headaches, and the occasional rage quits, these sequels and expansions were like an adrenaline shot of nostalgia. A throwback to simpler times when our biggest worry was about how strategically to place that darn mage tower. They expanded not just the game's universe, but also its place in our hearts. Oh, Kingdom Rush, you cruel, addicting, pixelated temptress. From the first time I set up my humble archer tower to the time a dark slayer snuck past my defenses and stole my sense of self-worth, there's a lot we've been through. So why, after all these sleepless night enlist retries and shouted obscenities, do we keep coming back? Well, first and foremost, it's the nostalgia. Kingdom Rush isn't just a game, it's a time capsule. It takes us back to the simpler days where our lives revolved around star ratings and the incessant tapping on screens. The pixelated graphics, charming in their simplicity, tell stories of an age before life was a series of high-res, hyper-realistic 3D renderings. An age where if a game could make us feel, it was doing its job. Then there's the challenge. Kingdom Rush doesn't hold your hand. No, it throws you into the deep end with a floaty that's seen better days. And as much as we curse when a wave of enemies crashes through, the high we get when we finally nail that perfect strategy is unbeatable. It's that intoxicating blend of frustration and accomplishment, kind of like assembling IKEA furniture but less soul-destroying. And can we take a moment to appreciate the cheeky pop culture references again? I swear I saw a sneaky Gandalf nod in there. Or was that just sleep deprivation? Jury's still out on that one. In the grand tapestry of life, Kingdom Rush is that vibrant, slightly frayed thread and that weaves its way throughout. It's the game we introduce to our younger siblings with pride, the one we revisit when life gets a bit too real, and the one we reference in obscure conversations hoping anyone will get it. As the end credits roll, I want to pose a question to everyone watching. What's your most nostalgic memory of Kingdom Rush? The most epic win? The most soul-crushing defeat? Leave them down in the comments below. Let's create a chronicle of our collective Kingdom Rush journeys. And if you somehow stumbled onto this video without ever having played Kingdom Rush, just do yourself a favor.